When I was a kid, I had a dream. A very specific dream. I wanted to be the first person to find the Titanic. I would look out to sea and think, she's out there. Somewhere. Maybe if I just swam to the deep end of the ocean, I would find her. Couple of problems with that. Number one, as a child, I hated getting water in my face. Titanic, as it happens, surrounded by it. Lots of it, like 7 out of 10 style. There's too much water. More than 10 bathtubs worth. And I couldn't even conceive of numbers like that as a kid. I mean, can you imagine? 10 bathtubs?
That's right.
Problem number 2, and this is a big one. Someone else had already found Titanic. Fuck you, Bob, you bitch. I'm sorry. I love you, Bob. You're actually amazing. So, yeah, dreams of finding Titanic? Up in smoke. Not gonna happen for me. And over the years, I've come to terms with the fact that I'm never ever going to go there. And saying so may spit in the face of ambition or scientific discovery, but it does fit quite nicely in the face of self-fucking-preservation, because it is crazy-style dangerous to go to the Titanic. See, one thing about the ocean is it's really good at taking puny humans and turning them into remains ultra fast in a litany of horrifying ways. Just a couple of years ago, some arrogant meat sacks decided to Logitech their way to the wreck, carbon fiber style, and they goddamn died. Oops. So my enthusiasm for the story of Titanic has been relegated to documentaries, YouTube videos, and books. I absorb as much of that stuff as I can, and recently that meant watching the National Geographic special on the digital restoration of the Titanic. It was a fascinating documentary, but it did have that same part that pretty much every documentary on this subject has. Every single scientist, it seems, in these documentaries, they're always gung-ho to find Titanic or to research whatever specific theory they're looking into, but there's always the same moment in each one where the wreck hits them, where they're staring at some artifact, a personal effect in the debris field, or a twisted scrap of metal on the wreck itself, where they remember that what they are looking at is a mass grave. In their excitement, they all seem to forget that 1,500 people died in that exact spot, and all that's left of them are whatever pieces haven't succumbed to the pressure or bacteria of the bottom of the sea. It's cold, dark, and lonely, and all that's left are dust and boots. And even after all these years of experiencing that exact same moment several different times over several different documentaries, it still manages to affect me. All of which is to say that I recently came upon an opportunity to go to the Titanic experience in Boston, which is pretty exciting. I live in Massachusetts again, and on Cape Cod, the ship is just a few miles, is it that away, or maybe it's that away, and then a couple miles more that away. Still, it's a bit of a hike. Boston's a little bit easier to get to, but with traffic on 93, though, who's to say? And originally, this would be the part of the video where I would cut to B-roll, shot by me of my trip into the city and inside the exhibit halls, but instead you are looking at my incredibly subscribable face. The reason for that is I didn't record any footage there because I didn't go there. I went to a Red Sox game instead. It was One Piece Day. I had to. I could have gone to the Titanic thing, but I didn't want to. I suppose I should explain myself. One of my issues with an exhibit like this is in its museum nature. I got a bit of a love-hate relationship with museums because they should be unequivocal goods for society, just a building of learning. So how do you make humans be less hateful? Well, you teach them that being hateful gets you strapped up by your toes or in a ditch covered in petrol on fire.
So that's fun.
On the other hand, oftentimes the provenance of several museum artifacts gives me pause. Like, how exactly was all of this stuff obtained? Kindly speaking, who did you jack these off of, prick?
What did he say?
And in these instances, I think of my own heritage. A main part of me is French, which is lovely because it means I'm totally down for some long bread and a smooch in a well-lit tower. And one of my other parts is Native American from southern Canada. And before you ask, no, that is not also French.
Sacre bleu!
Oftentimes, native artifacts seem to find themselves in a lot of museums, and I would love to know what tribe donated them. Was it the tribe of William, Henry, or John? And whose grave did he take it off of? I would much prefer the layman takes the time, plans a trip, and goes to a legitimate site that is maintained and has workers that are knowledgeable about subjects and will teach you anything you want to know about these sites. And these can include native sites or famous battlegrounds. You can go to these locations where the final resting places aren't overly disturbed, and if you wanted to learn about, like, say, for example, Gettysburg, you could plan a trip to Pennsylvania. You could plan a trip to Harper's Ferry to see the effigy mounds, or Ohio for the Newark earthworks. But I get it, right? I'm magnanimous. I subscribe to the within reason clause as much as you should subscribe to my channel. There are some sites that are far away, and others that have just been destroyed over time, so going to them isn't always easy or, in fact, financially possible.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
And having a museum with a bunch of artifacts open up near you is a shit billion times more convenient, and I understand that. And in the case of Titanic, it is entirely unreasonable to go there. You can't just plan a day trip to the Titanic. The last time some people tried that, they goddamn died. Oops! So the idea of a Titanic museum isn't exactly an unreasonable concept, but what skeeves me out about it is what's hidden in what they're selling you. The exhibit first proclaims it has recreations of staterooms and a full-scale recreation of the famous Grand Staircase. Cool. That's great. And they boast of all the information they have on the construction of the ship and the information regarding the timeline of the sinking. Okay, all good so far, fully above board. Also, we got some artifacts that were respectfully recovered from the wreck. Huh?
Give you that one more again.
Oh, just some artifacts that were respectfully recovered from the wreck. Uh-huh. And that is where Chris's ticket is removed from the cart. Because you could say that you did all of this respectfully, but what does that mean exactly? How do you do any of this respectfully? Like, if I exhumed your grandmother tomorrow, plucked her fucking sneakers, and then propped them up in a hermetically sealed jewel case, then charged the general public $50 to come and gawk at them, what would I have to say to convince you that I did any of that respectfully?
You have committed crimes against Skyrim and her people.
I suppose we just have to take the word of the people who did it. RMS Titanic Incorporated. They own the official salvaging rights to the wreck. Great. Isn't it wonderful that money can buy such a thing? Some people use throngs of wealth to buy a lot of cars or fancy clothes, but it takes real bravery to want to use that disgusting wealth to purchase the exclusive grave robbing rights to one of the most famous maritime tragedies of all time.
Pretty cool, huh?
I mean, shit, you could have just done the recreations. That's all fine. I've got no problem recreating the artifacts. I'm even cool with them giving you a ticket that has a real person's name on it and finding out about that person. It's an interesting, if ghoulish, bit of roleplay. Hell yeah, own your freak. Oh, did old Sally Giblets in steerage survive the sinking? Wait till the end of the tour to find out. Odds are she didn't. It does seem like there's a real struggle to turn this idea into anything more than a psychotic scavenger hunt where all the treasure's already been found and it's just a dead guy's pantaloons. Even the event partners are struggling to find ways to incorporate this exhibit into their own operations. In just an amazing display of corporate synergy, the partners of this exhibit are oftentimes local restaurants, and all they can think to do to match the theme of Titanic is to offer cocktails and food that are often sinking or iceberg related, which, yeah, come on and stop by Honeydew Donuts for your iceberg-themed donut. Alright, that's a bit weird. I mean, okay though, I like Honeydew Donuts, and it's no Mary Lou's, but do you think that after somberly walking through an exhibit dedicated to human misery like Titanic, that I want anything to do with icebergs? That's like going to an exhibit dedicated to the Troubles and then heading to the pub for a shot of Bailey's and a Guinness Stout. What they really should have done, if they wanted to be accurate, is to recreate the actual Titanic menu and serve that to their guests. Old Sally Giblets in steerage had gruel for supper before she goddamn died. Not like old Grampton St. Rumter Frabble up in first class that got to feast like a king in the buffet on all of the salmon mayonnaise he could get his glubby little fingers on before he, too, ultimately goddamn died. Oops! Also, RMS Titanic Incorporated, the group behind this event, they tried to sell Titanic NFTs, so fuck those fucking guys. I'm not giving them money. That's the real reason I didn't go, because I could excuse grave robbing, but I draw the line at promoting scam JPEGs that are all succumbing to link rot. Whew, is that rough, buddy? One of the biggest oops of this whole video, easily.
Gentlemen, it has been a privilege playing with you tonight.
On April 14th, 1912, the Gilded Age officially went full ass up until finally too much stress in the middle caused it to collapse and then sink beneath the frigid waves of the Atlantic Ocean. The story fascinates to this day because it is a combination of hubris, heroism, foolishness, lies, truth, and other assorted horse manure. And to this day, there are people who try to capitalize on the sinking. There are those who do things respectfully. I'd say peep the work of Mike Brady over at Ocean Liner Designs. Great follow. He does a lot of great work. But I guess in a weird, sick sort of way, I'm trying to capitalize also. Because I want you to view this video and subscribe to my channel and validate my decision to go see One Piece Day at Fenway Park as opposed to going to this event. Validate me or tell me I'm a snowflake who needs to get over myself. Either way, I thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, good, because that was the whole point. Follow the links in the description, check out my other work, support me if you can, love me if you must, and have a great rest of your day.